Alright guys, so for sumo, for starting foot position, usually what I have people do, just when they haven't started before, when they're figuring it out, is to line your shins up right at about the rings. You want your toes to follow your knees. So for me, because I have longer femurs, I have to point toes out farther or else the bar will hit my knees. So if I go straight forward like this, I have to start a lot farther back. The farther out your feet go this way, the more glute engagement you're going to get, and the farther in, the more quad engagement you're going to get. Usually as a rule of thumb when you're starting, turn your feet out and just start right about here up against the bar. My foot position is a little bit different because of the length of my femurs, so I'm going to go out farther and start back. What you're looking for is you want a straight bar path. So no matter what you do, you want to make sure there isn't any movement in the bar. So for me, if I start here, right up against the bar, and have my feet forwards, the bar has to get pulled up and around my knees. That's very exaggerated, but that's kind of the motion. You want, with whatever style you have, to make sure that your feet are in a good solid position and your knees don't contradict the angle of your toes. You want them to follow right over the top in order to be safe. Usually when you're trying to get it down first, I recommend, like I said, turn those feet out. When you come to the bottom, your shins should be straight up and down. They should be parallel to each other for your start. Alright guys, so hand position is going to be essentially the same as a conventional or sumo, it doesn't really matter. I am going to use an over-under grip for both. I recommend everybody uses that. I'm a 500-pound deadlifter and I have no issues with bicep tears or anything like that. When you get up into the 600, 700, 800 range, if you're not mobile enough, you can pull some things, but as long as your biceps are fairly flexible and you have good mobility, it's not going to be an issue. As far as our back position, it's very, very important. So in sumo, we're more upright than we are in conventional. So I'll have you come to the side here and take a look. In conventional, you notice I'm a lot farther down. Whereas in sumo, because my feet are spread, I can get my back up higher. You have a different hinge point. I'm virtually straight up and down. So that's going to really affect your deadlift as far as you got to make sure you're not too tucked over, because as soon as you go to pull, your hips will drop and your chest will come up anyway to get a correct pull, and it's wasted energy. So it's better to just sit down into it and get your hips engaged, because it is a more glute dominant deadlift. Alright guys, so quick checklist when you're going through on sumo. Something to look for in your own deadlifts, or if you're coaching a client, a couple of things to hit. You want to make sure, of course, first and foremost, back is straight. And whatever spine position they have, you don't want your head tilted up or too far down. So you want to be straight. One thing I do is grab a PVC pipe and lay it down the back of the client to try to help them understand that you want all points along the spine from tailbone to the crown of the head to be touching on that. And that'll help you get full body synergy and all nerve engagement there. So a couple things to go over. I want to make sure, number one, back is straight. Two, we have solid foot positions. Once we get that down, wherever that may be, we want to think about spider monkeying on the wall. So kind of like you have kids that climb up the hallway out like this. Same sort of motion. You want to push the ground apart with your legs. Here. That'll help engage your glutes. Because you can't push knees out like you can on conventional, but you can think about pushing feet apart. And that automatically engages your glutes. You'll see if someone doesn't do that, they'll come up off the ground hard, or they'll come up little ways, they'll struggle, and then it'll come up easy. Because you have to have those glutes engaged. Next thing you want to make sure we do is tighten our lats up. Talked about that before. These guys have to be tight. If they're not, it's going to be really hard to lock out the deadlift and get it up correctly. So once we put it all together, it'll look like this. A key piece is breathing. You want to make sure you take a breath at the top, hold, all the way down through the movement, and don't let it out until the top of the movement. A lot of times people let it out as they're coming up, but that's the most important time to have your core engaged. And when you take a breath, it helps you engage your core and allows you to get that weight up. So if you're not using a belt, or even if you're using a belt, very, very important, you don't let that breath go until you're all the way at the top of the